Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Down the Track. I have with me my usual guest, Abrar Aziz. Abrar, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, we just those three T20 series we just concluded. One was the Australia-Pakistan, one was the India-Bangladesh, and one was the England-New Zealand. Did you watch the T20s, and which series were you more focused on, and which one excited you more?
I mean, as an Indian fan, I wanted to. I obviously followed the India Bangladesh closely, but the England New Zealand series. I mean, another T20. It's not another T20, but another super over and another loss for New Zealand. It's just heartbreaking for them again, and I don't know how much how much of these heartbreaks they can continue to take, the fans and the players alike. I mean, so similar to the World Cup. Super over as well.
Very similar to the World Cup.
Yeah, very. I feel very bad for the New Zealand players. Like a good bunch of people, very nice people to have been on the losing side two times in the past 5 months is quite sad.
Yeah, it is pretty sad. I think it was an 11-over game. It was a curtailed game, but they made 147, I think, in 11 overs, which is just completely mad. But England just hung in there. And this was their second string squad. This was probably their B team, right? It wasn't their first team, and they still hung in there, and they took it till the end. They won the series. England by far looked like the strongest team, do you think, on paper going into the T20 World Cup? Because look at their bench and then look at the players who are to come, like the likes of Stokes and Butler and Jason Roy, Hales, Archer, who didn't play this series, but they're still they'll probably play in the T20 World Cup. So do you feel on paper England again, like they were for the 50-over World Cup, their favorites again for the T20 World Cup?
Absolutely, I think the dominance that England has shown is quite something. I mean, with players with their top players in terms of Stokes, Butler, Roy, Archer not being part of the squad, and they still managed to go out and beat a formidable New Zealand side, says a lot about their bench strength. I mean, in terms of Jordan leading the bowling attack, the Curran brothers bowling pretty well, Malan scoring that century, and Morgan doing his form. I mean, he's out there to. And he was quite lethal in almost all of the games. I think he had a decent score. So yeah, definitely. I mean, England definitely the strongest team going into the World Cup. There is still some time left for the World Cup, and things can change. But definitely, if you look at it from as of right now, I think England is firm favorite.
Would you go with Adil Rashid as the spinner, because there will be bigger boundaries in Australia compared to the other countries? So with the bigger boundaries in T20 and leg spinners do work. So would you go with Adil Rashid, or would you try out someone new?
No, absolutely. I think bigger boundaries and leg spinning being an issue for a lot of players, for a lot of teams. I think like we saw Bangladesh struggling with it, and just in general, leg spinning gives that added like little bit more lethal weapon for the captain. So I think that's definitely something that they should continue doing. Adil Rashid is a good bowler, smart bowler, so he will most likely keep his spot for sure, I think.
Yeah, and back in India, it was also a close series. Surprisingly, India lost the first T20. The second T20, they won it comfortably. But then the last T20, it was going out of India's hands. But then Deepak Chahar and Shivam Dube came and turned it around in the last 5-6 overs. Chahar's figures of 6 for 7. It is actually the best T20 bowling figures. Absolutely brilliant. Good signs for India in terms of these two players.
Absolutely. I think very, very pleased with Deepak Chahar's performance. I think in the absence of Bumrah and Shami, he kind of rose to the occasion and took the mantle of being the prime bowler and delivered throughout the innings. I mean, he had an inexperienced and kind of lacking confidence in terms of Khalil as his partner. So he had to take the extra pressure, and he did that splendidly. I think him and it was a little bit of a surprising decision to go with only 5 bowlers and Dube and Khalil, who is underperforming, and Dube being your 5th bowler.
It was a big risk.
It was a big risk, and for almost didn't pan out, but Dube came good, and that's pleasing to see. But I have to just really commend Rohit Sharma's captaincy. I mean, for not for a minute he looked like he was worried. He was always making those changes, thinking on his toes, and I think he's a top captain. I think his stint with the Mumbai Indians has really helped him. And whenever Virat's taking a break, he's always stepped in and really performed well as a captain. And his batting he's probably in the form of his life right now. So Rohit Sharma is in a very good space right now, and I hope that he continues this for some more time. And I think if he can continue this form, I think India is in good hands in terms of the opening at least. My one concern in terms of India would be the form of Shikhar Dhawan and of course the most talked man in Indian cricket right now, Rishabh Pant. So these are two. Obviously, there's concern. Pant, of course, for obvious reasons, he didn't really perform even in this series. Shikhar Dhawan has not had the kind of innings that I'm looking for in him. I mean, I would be tempted to try KL instead of Shikhar, and when Virat comes back, obviously, because KL will have to give way because Shreyas Iyer has performed well enough to continue making that number 4 spot. So that, and then I don't know, you want to try Sanju Samson because he's been performing well, or do you continue to stick with Rishabh Pant? I think that's a $1 million question.
I think with Rishabh Pant, the biggest problem is mental strength. I think that's what the issue is because I've seen him. He's a very talented player. Like, he's not shown it in Indian colours at all. He hasn't shown it. But I've seen him domestically. I've seen him in Mushtaq Ali. I've seen him in the IPL. He plays free-flowing. He counter-attacks, comes in at number 4 and just takes the attack to the opposition. He scored a brilliant 100 against Sunrisers a couple of years back as well. Yeah. He's a solid player, but I think he's just not grasping this playing for India. I think the pressure is getting to him mentally because now people are talking about him. He's in the spotlight. I don't think he can handle that. Even though, like as a player, they'll say, no, I'm focusing on my game and everything. But I think the criticism and everything is getting to him. I think that's the thing. He's getting confused because now one innings he's coming, he's trying to hit from ball 1, he's getting out. One innings he's coming, he's defending and getting out. So I think his whole method has changed, and that's just from the criticism around him and the spotlight. Because I think even the coach and captain have also somewhat criticized him or somewhat put the spotlight on him before the Indian season. I think in October, right before South Africa came. So they also had something to say about him. But I think that all these words and criticism going on about him is mentally getting to him. He needs to fix his mental state first and then focus on his game. Because T20, it suits him. I understand his technique is a bit off or whatever, but he has a test 100 in Australia, he has a test 100 in England. But when he wears that blue jersey for India in the limited overs format where he's supposed to shine, that's not where he's shining. So yes, it is a big concern, but I think if he sorts his mental state, it'll make his life easier. It's easier said than done, but I think he needs to work on that, make his mind stronger, try to eliminate all the outside talk and just go in and play his natural game. It's easy to say, but I think that's what he needs to do, because you can't say he doesn't have talent if he has test 100s, right?
No, absolutely. I think, I mean, can you blame him? He's a 21-year-old kid. He's young. He's confused and he needs a little bit of guidance. And that's why I was a little bit upset when Ravi Bhai came out and kind of criticized him the way he did.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Exactly. Absolutely. I agree with that. And again, Rohit Sharma understood that. And that's the greatness of the man, I think. He came out and he said, keep your eyes and ears away from Rishabh Pant for a while. Just let him be, He said that, and that's like the captain understanding him and giving him that kind of confidence is very helpful. So again, just another feather in Rohit Sharma's cap. I think I'm in awe of him, especially I was not one of those who was backing him in the Test series. He came out, he proved me wrong. He's been in the form of his life. World Cup, he was our best batsman, arguably. He's just in another zone right now, and that's a good space to be. I hope he continues to do that.
This probably won't happen, but I want to ask you your opinion. Just before, would you
Rohit Sharma T20 captain? Yes.
Yeah, for the World Cup, and play Kohli as a batsman.
For me, yes.
Because you could, because the thing is, India do have a very vigorous test schedule also. They're playing New Zealand and Australia away, right, in the next year. And I think the T20 World Cup is sandwiched between those two series. It's in October, and the Australia series will be in December. New Zealand will be now in January.
Right.
So it's sandwiched. As a captain, Kohli has his work cut out. in the test
I mean,
match.
it's like you said, it's never going to happen. But personally, yes, I think Rohit Sharma understands the team better. Not taking nothing away from Virat Kohli, I am a huge fan of Virat Kohli, the captain. I have grown to like Virat Kohli, the captain. Sorry, I'm a huge fan of Virat Kohli, the batsman, and I've grown to like Virat Kohli, the captain as well. He's really kind of come leaps and bounds from where he was initially, where I thought it was a problem, and I have respect for him in that front. But I think Rohit Sharma is in a good space. Having said that, I think his press conferences have improved. Virat Kohli's press conferences have improved. Harsha Bhogle tweeted about it too, saying that the old Virat who had beef with the media and all of that is gone, and I think he's looking a lot more calm now.
That comes with maturity, with age,
of
right?
course.
Like he's 30
And
years old
so,
now.
Yeah. So I think at this point it just becomes a personal point of view, and I think personal point of view, I would like to see Rohit Sharma captain.
Yeah, for me, I think either will do. I'm a big fan of Rohit Sharma's captaincy, but you have to also consider the team chemistry. If suddenly Kohli's taken out of captaincy going into a big tournament,
absolutely,
if you're gonna do it, you have to do it now. You can't go do it just 1 month before the tournament.
And that's something just the we're speculating. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. It's just food for thought. But also, I think the biggest worry for India is their batting. I said this before the 50-over World Cup. Also, I'm saying it now. You can say all you want about the talent, everything, it's there. But when it comes on the big occasion, when there's a bit of nip or some assistance for the bowlers in the pitch, the Indian batsmen struggle. Whether it is in India on turning pitches, whether it is in England when it's moving, or even in Australia, they will struggle. So I think the batting they need to fix. And T20, they actually need to get that mentality right. I think they need to be more aggressive. The likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they don't need to play that role they do in 50 overs where they bat 30, 40 overs, keep wickets in hand. They don't need to play that role because 20 overs is a short period of time. You have to make use of every single ball. So I would like to see them be a bit more aggressive. I think Rohit Sharma will do that, but like you said, I think Shikhar Dhawan might not be the best choice, even though he's a very good aggressive batsman. But I think he's coming of age now. I'm not coming of age. I think he's just getting older. So I don't know if he can play with that same aggression which you require. If he does, well and good. But I think they need to make most of the first 6 overs. Did you see how England played against New Zealand? Yeah, they had to. But even in New Zealand, Martin Guptill went 50 of 19 balls. Monroe hit like 36 of 16 balls. So they were aggressive in the first few overs. So you need to make of course, if there's something in the pitch, you have to be a bit careful. But in general, T20, I think the Indian batsmen need to be more aggressive. I would rather lose a game if they're chasing 160. I would rather get all out for 80, but going for it.
I agree.
Then like what happened in that India-England game in the World Cup where Dhoni took it till very close, but it was over before you knew it, right?
The New Zealand one, yep.
Not the New Zealand, the
England one. Okay,
Where Dhoni stood there till the end, but there was no, we didn't have enough balls at the end, right? I'd rather go for it. And T20, I think you need that. You see the past champions, when India won, they went with a fearless team. It wasn't like, there weren't any known players. We had Sehwag coming back, we had Gambhir coming back, and then the likes of Yuvraj and Dhoni just blasted away, right? When Pakistan won, they had Afridi. West Indies, those two teams, they were so aggressive. So I think that's what you need going into the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think definitely they need to go in. I think, like I said, Shikhar needs to, maybe KL needs to come in. But I think my batting 7 would be Rohit, KL, Virat, Shreyas, Pant, Dubey, and Pandya. I think Hardik Pandya. So those are my top 7. I think that's a good combination of
you would go with Dubey and Hardik Pandya?
Yes, because it's in Australia, so the pitches are a little bit more assisting fast bowlers a little bit. And then I have Chahal and at Chahal at 8, and then I'd play Bumrah at 9. I'd play Deepak Chahar at 10, and I would probably play Rahul Chahar at 11. Because I already have Pandya and Dubey as my backup fast bowlers.
You wouldn't go with
so that
Kuldeep?
gives Kuldeep or Rahul Chahar. I think either of the two. I think Kuldeep maybe because it gives a different bit of, he's a Chinaman versus we already have a leg spinner in the team. So yeah, so something like that for sure. I would try that combination out as that's probably my strongest team at this point for the World Cup. I mean, there's a long way to go and a lot can change obviously, but as of right now, I think.
Oh no, that's Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean that's about it for. And Bangladesh, I mean, just a little bit of thought over there. I think without with the kind of news that they were coming into with the Shakib's situation and not having Tamim also, I think they did decently well.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
they reasonably well.
Mohammedullah captained the team well.
They
Mushfiqur Rahim
almost
in
won
their
it.
first game.
That if it wasn't for Deepak Chahar's and Dubey's
Yeah, of
spell,
course.
the game
Yeah,
was done
absolutely.
because they
Yeah.
batted really well.
Yes, and Mushfiqur Rahim's innings in the first game and Naeem's inning in
Naeem,
the
yeah.
third game, and overall, I think they have a lot of good pointers to take. I think a little bit more consistency in the batting, and they have what it takes. I think.
Yeah,
we
that's what I say.
underestimated them, but I think they did pretty
India
well.
India should have been more clinical. But then again, when you have the likes of Bumrah back, Shami back, I think you'll see a bit more clinical bowling. But apart from that, there was another series, the Australia versus Pakistan. This was very one-sided. I think it was predictable, but. I wanted to see more fight from Pakistan because they have a lot of talent, but then again, the team selection is the issue. Misbah is now basically controlling Pakistan cricket, but he has too much on his hands, I think, more than anything. He has a good cricketing brain. I actually heard him speak during the 50 over World Cup on Cricket Info. He has a good cricketing brain, but he has too much on his plate. I don't think that's how cricket works, right? You need to split the thing, and the team selection was wrong. I think in the last T20, they just were taken for pace. It was the Perth wicket bouncy, and they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's gone wrong with Pakistan T20 in the past year or so.
And they're the number one team. That's
exactly,
the thing.
yeah,
So they have the talent.
I think they've just won 2 games in the past year or something. I was reading a stat about it.
Yeah.
It's just gone all wrong. I mean,
and it's not like players have retired or anything. They still have a core of that team, but like, they're dropping some players, they're picking some players, they're bringing back old players. I don't know what they're doing.
There's no consistency, unfortunately, and very difficult first test for Babar Azam as a captain. I think there was a couple of mistakes we saw, which were kind of rookie captain mistakes that could have been avoided. And
in hindsight, do you think sacking Sarfaraz as captain was a mistake in the shorter format? In hindsight. Because he was not performing as a batsman, so that's a big problem. He was and in test matches his captaincy was also poor. But the World Cup he did reasonably well after a very shocking start. He did reasonably well. They beat England, they beat South Africa, New Zealand. He won the Champions Trophy. They beat India, and he was captain, right? So do you think in hindsight it was a wrong decision, or do you think it's just you can't pick a player just based on captaincy?
Yeah, I think you can't, and I think to be honest, I think the timing was accurate. Pakistan went in because if they couldn't have done it any later.
Yeah.
They had to do it at the time, and that's why they did.
1 year now from
now it gives them enough time to kind of like work on it. It gives enough time for the new captain to kind of gel, figure it out, and like get his team and everything. So I think they had to do it at the time if they wanted to do it. But it's hard to say. I mean, Sarfaraz was underperforming, and the pressure was on Pakistan to make some radical decisions, and it didn't pay off. So we'll see. I mean, how they go. Like you said, the talent is there. It just needs a little bit more consistency, and Misbah needs to get a little bit off of his plate and get some help.
And the important thing, consistency not only in performance but in selection also, because you have too much dropping and picking and stuff like that, which we saw. India also did that last year during the test matches. But I think Pakistan do have talented players, but I think the combination is the issue. They don't get the right combination sometimes. We saw the combination clicking towards the end of the World Cup, but if they can get that from the start, it just makes their life easier going into a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the problems are very clear. Yeah. It's just the execution that needs to happen now.
And were you surprised with the bowling, or just Warner and Finch back home are just different beasts altogether? Because they actually ripped them apart.
I mean, Warner in white ball cricket is just something else, man. In red ball, he is struggling a little. He had a terrible Ashes, but he's such a he's so scary. He's so intimidating to bowl to in T20s and 50 overs. I mean, I've grown to love him because of his association with SRH, obviously. But it's hard. Back home, it's very hard. I mean, I don't criticize the bowling as much because these two are just on a different level. Having said that, I think I mean, no, it was hard, man. It was hard. They were in the form of their lives, and this is a new team trying to figure things out. It was just not the right time. I think it was just bad timing for them.
Yeah, and just quickly, now these three T20 series have been concluded. Now these 6 teams will be playing test matches against each other. So India, Bangladesh, New Zealand, England, and Pakistan, Australia. Your predictions for all 3 quickly?
I think the teams that won the T20 series will win the Test series.
You think England will win the Test series? The Test team is not as strong. Remember, the red ball cricket is not as strong.
You're right. I guess that's that is the most tricky it will be. I think New Zealand is actually a pretty good test side, so probably New Zealand will nick that in at home conditions and all will help them. Yeah. But that will be the most.
England will want to pull their socks up, especially after the Ashes, even though they didn't lose it, but they lost the urn, right? So they will probably want to pull their socks up.
Yeah, 100%. I think that will be the most keenly fought series. I think India will do pretty well against Bangladesh, and I think Australia will also do decently against Pakistan. I mean, it won't be as simple as the T20s was, I think, because Test cricket is a different ball game, and I think Asad Shafiq and Babar Azam with that practice game centuries, and Imran Khan,
he looks really good. His release point is kind of like Bumrah,
like the Bumrah. Kind of like that. So
I think the Pakistan, if they even if they win the toss, I think they need to win the toss and bat first. If in the first game at least, if they win the toss. But apart from that, I think Babar Azam, Azhar Ali, Ashraf Shafiq, apart from the other batsmen, need to show temperament. That's all. They need to hang in there. The worrying thing about is that Pakistan can collapse. You know, they could get all out for like 80 because they do have bowling, so they will bother. There's one man there, Steve Smith, right? But they can. But apart from that, the others, Pakistan can get them out. They do have some good bowling. Don't forget Mohammad Abbas. He's a good bowler. I'm being a bit optimistic for the Pakistan, but I still see Australia favourites, but I'm just saying if they get the little things right, I think they can give them a fight. It's going to be difficult, especially with the form Smith is in. Warner, I know he's struggled in England, but this is Australian conditions, and I think he'll do much better. He'll bat better in these conditions.
For sure. I think so. I think the 2 points of issue in the Ashes was. Of course, Warner didn't perform, but Warner is definitely still an opener. But who is going to partner Warner? That's one. And who's playing at number 5? Yeah. That's 2. Because
but I think one thing which
Labuschagne, Smith, and Wade are already sorted. Payne's your captain. So your number 5 and number 2 is the problem. And the Australia A game that they played, none of the probables really performed.
I think initially I would go with Khwaja because he's
I think so too.
He plays well at home, but on top of that, he's a good player of spin. He's improved his playing at spin. Like you saw him in Dubai last year, he played really well against the Yasir Shah and stuff. Because I think more than anything, the Pakistan, if they're going to win it, their bowlers are going to win it. Their batsmen will be facing some very high quality bowling in Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, even Stark if he starts. But there's some really good bowling there that Pakistani batsmen have to face. But if they're going to win it, I think their bowlers will need to tackle this Australian batting lineup.
Absolutely. And I honestly think left-right combination to start off the innings with Bancroft probably opening, and then maybe play Khwaja at 3 and put Labuschagne at 5, and that's your probably your Australian team. But that's for us to wait and see. But that is a problem with Australia, those 2 spots. Their bowling is sorted, and Pakistan, like you said, more temperament from the batsman. I think this is a big series for Haris Sohail. I really think he's a classy batsman. He just needs to prove by playing those long innings. Yeah. So we'll wait and see how that goes.
So Australia are favourites, but if Pakistan string things together, then they can pull up a surprise. But otherwise, Australia are favourites to win the series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and India, I think it's going to be a big shock to me if India lose even one test match.
I think they're not losing it. I think it'll be a clean sweep. I think we won't even play 5 days of cricket.
But I'll tell you something just to round things off. What I would like to actually see is Virat Kohli win the toss on a flat wicket and bowl first.
That would be something. I don't think he'll do it, but that would be something.
Because I still think India will win that game. I still think they can win
sure,
that. But at least that pressure is there.
A different challenge.
Right? It's a different challenge because heading into the New Zealand series in February, I think India need to challenge themselves because that South Africa series was a bit too easy. Credit to the Indian team, they played really well because you still have to beat what's in front of you. I think let's challenge ourselves a bit more. I think that's what Kohli should do. But
it won't happen, but definitely more challenge. Just maybe we could hope for him to lose the toss and for Bangladesh to bat first, I guess.
So next week we'll discuss the first test to India, and we look forward to the other test matches as well. And it was good talking to you, and hope to see you next week. Thank you all for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Right.